I'm ready.
Let's do this. Again. Take two. Welcome back to Well-Behaved Women.
Welcome.
We're super happy to be here. It only took us a full year.
Pretty much. Really. I don't know when we recorded the last episode. Time is soup. So
Time is soup indeed. It is not fun.
But yeah, guys, welcome to Well-Behaved Women. That's Lauren. I don't know why she didn't introduce herself.
I'm Lauren. This is Kyria, giggling uncontrollably.
Yeah, we're just excited to be back, guys. So just bear with us while we laugh our way through.
We also rarely talk to other humans outside of the people that live with us. So it's kind of a big deal that we're interacting at all.
Yeah, it's been a weird year, as you all know, I'm sure, if you live on the planet Earth. You're familiar.
What happened?
So, just Earth things.
But,
you know.
Like what?
Just a pandemic, a global one, an Earth pandemic, and stuff. Other stuff, an election. Just,
You know what? I
other things happened around the world, but I'm American and we are notoriously just like narcissistic. So
I heard about those things, but like there was just nothing about any of that caused me to change my behaviors whatsoever.
No, you were perfectly
partying
impacted by this.
Yeah, absolutely. At all of the clubs that stayed open.
Yes. Well, happy end of 2020, everyone. And maybe this will come out before the end of 2020. We'll see. If not, Happy New Year.
I think so. I'm going to try.
Hopefully not Happy New Year.
Christmas.
Hopefully my New Year wishes are happier than that.
Remember when like our beginning of year goal was to get out like 26 episodes?
Lauren, do you remember when on New Year's last year we made a vision board?
I was thinking about this and you were like, yours is huge. And I was like, I want to have a big year.
I threw mine away in bitterness 2 days ago. I kept it for so long and it was hanging
in the corner forever. And I'm like, and I had them up for a really long time because they still brought me like a lot of joy. But man, if it didn't kick us in the teeth.
I had mine up in West Seattle up until we moved for sure. And then I never got around to finding a place for it here. And now we're in December and I looked at it and I was like, I'm furious with you just for existing. Get out of here.
I was really upset. I was mostly upset about the vision board for the fucking podcast. We weren't
such a good.
Whatever. I'm gonna fucking keep it.
Yeah, we'll keep it. We'll just put a 1 over it. Did we put 2020 on it? We did. We'll just put a 1 over that.
And then put a big slap out 1, like a big red 1 right over the 0. It's like, take 2.
Yeah.
This is the year, guys.
We'll find a 1 in a different magazine, like totally different font and color.
Really big one. I like that plan.
We're gonna do it this year.
Hello, audience.
Gary can be a guest star.
Gary is going to be a guest star whether or not I want him to be a guest star.
He's a featured star.
He's a featured interjector. He'll pop in every once in a while.
Be a well-behaved woman, please. Gary.
Kyria says, be a well-behaved woman, please.
Fine, fall asleep on the couch.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good plan.
Solid.
Yep.
Legit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyway.
On this year in history.
$1364. The joint kings of Sweden are deposed by noblemen who end up electing the new king. Love this system.
Yep. Perfect. That's the way we want leadership.
We're gonna have like all of the kings of Sweden, and we're just gonna have side of some of us, and one of us, because that's how most successful governments work all the time.
Yes.
Charles V becomes the King of France.
Okay.
The Bogdana Monastery is built in Moldavia, and Christine was born in Italy. So by the time she was 5 or 6, her father had been hired by King Charles V of France as the royal astronomer. At this time, astronomy was actually a pretty widely regarded science in the 14th century, and it was used to predict the outcomes of crops and wars and all sorts of shit.
Okay. I forgot we were not in person, and I also forgot how to have a conversation. So I've just been silent. I've been silently nodding instead of verbally nodding, which does our
because when you learn, you know what though, that's like such a lesson in etiquette of how to have a Zoom conversation now. We've had to all have such practice of like being perfectly quiet, and we only nod so that we don't interrupt whatever else is going on.
Well, yeah, and if somebody's like, does everybody understand? And there's 4 people on the call, like we don't all need to unmute. Just everybody be like, yep. Got it.
Exactly. Like just look at us. Yeah, we can see. All right, we're moving on. Doesn't translate very well to audio.
Yeah. So I was just like silently making expressions at you. For those that can't see me, I'm making expressions.
Sometimes humans move their faces in ways that express how they're feeling without them having to use words.
Yep.
These are called facial expressions, and Kyria is very good at them, but they don't make any noise.
But so therefore, it's a prime way to communicate via radio.
No, for sure.
Moving on. Oh, Christine, you silly Billy.
Tommaso di Benvenuto de Pisano went on to France.
Is that her dad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's a fucking name.
Right. His wife and her 3 children followed him along, 2 boys and Christine. At that point, King Charles was known as the Wise King. He reigned and maintained peace in France during the 100-Year War, and he believed strongly in moral philosophy.
What a bro.
What a bro. What a good bro.
That's the bare bones. You just lead the country through a war, understand moral philosophy. That's it. We're not asking for much.
That's it. I'm only going to lead the country into prosperity during a very detrimental war to everyone around us.
Yeah.
And also master, like, pretty much the world. Ethics, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good job, Charles.
Yep.
Charles? George? You said it was Charles? Sorry, the 5th. I lost his name again. Okay, great.
So,
anyways.
Yeah. So he believed strongly in moral philosophy. He believed that power was rooted in knowledge and was responsible for the expansion of the Louvre to include a vast library. Christine had open access when she was growing up, and she grew up reading from these shelves that I would imagine look something like a mutant version of the Beauty and the Beast thing. I'm pretty sure that's...
Every time I hear about fancy libraries, I picture Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's how that works.
It was based on the Admont Abbey. I don't know where that is, though.
I don't either. Then never mind.
Mystery. Yeah.
That's
Behold,
cool. We're learning
Admont
stuff.
Abbey. It's home to over 70,000 books.
The Admont Abbey is?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. All right.
I do feel like I would walk in there and be like, and look at, and feel exactly like Belle while I just kind of circle around going, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. How do you possibly read that many books in a lifetime?
I have no idea. You just live in the library, wake up, read until you sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Pretty much. In any case, Christine had access to the entire Louvre library. And she grew up reading all of the books in those shelves, which I'm still going to go ahead and imagine looked somewhat like Beauty and the Beast shelves.
I think you should. That's your right.
Yeah, it's totally cartoonish and it's beautiful and whatever. So she was raised as like a lady in the royal courts of France. But even with that, it wasn't really good for a woman to be educated formally. Her
Okay.
brothers were actually educated, like they were sent to school, they had all the, institutional education. And her mother discouraged education. She was like, you need to grow up and know all of these things to be a proper lady and then get married and be a good mother, blah, blah, blah. You need to focus on women's work like cloth spinning, household chores. How to mop a stone ass floor. It is impossible, by the way. Jesus.
Stone is dirt.
Stone is dirt, and it's also not smooth.
This is slightly reminiscent of, as you know, I have been watching The Crown.
Oh my God, what season are you on? Where are you at? What happened?
Settle down. I'm at the end of season 3. Margaret is sleeping with that other boy, the new redhead boy, the younger man. Tony is cheating on her with a woman, of course.
Yeah.
And Charles was just sent on his like posting, and because they wanted to break up Camilla and Andrew, or him and Camilla, and so like I had no idea that Camilla and Charles dated when they were younger.
I had no idea she existed until this show. I knew that there was
really?
Because I didn't really follow the story very closely. Like the only thing I knew about Diana was that she like died tragically.
I'm very obsessed with the royals for some reason. It's a weird obsession I have.
Well, like now that I'm older and I'm kind of understanding that that was a hella complicated family. Like, yeah, I'm fascinated and I'm loving this show, by the way. I think that it's very well acted. Like everything in the show is very well acted. And but the only thing that I really knew about that family was that there had been like a tragic death. Yeah. And that it was very scandalous, but I never knew about the scandal and I never cared enough to look it up.
So all I knew about Camilla was that like I thought she was just the person that Charles was having an affair with. And I thought that they met like after Diana and him or something like that. Like I had no idea they were childhood, like
it
that
just
they
always been her
as youngins or something. I had no idea. Right. So that was really interesting. There's lots of things I didn't have. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I did not know that. But yeah, so I'm at the end of season 3. Elizabeth is about to have her 25th anniversary celebration.
Yeah.
So yes, that's where I am. But as you know, I've been watching The Crown recently. Why did I start this story? This is reminding me, the story you're telling me about education is reminding me of the episode that focused on Elizabeth's education, which is like she did not receive any like actual schooling. It was all just like, here's our constitution, here's how to be a monarch. And so she was like, wait, what's happening in this part of the world? And they're like, nah.
How do you do accounting? Like what's how do you balance a checkbook?
Yeah, and then her just having to ask, like, can you give me a rundown on the history of these two countries? Because I didn't learn it.
Yeah,
like it's and that had just like never occurred to me.
Well,
I think of the monarchy as like a very educated family because they go to these like fancy schools and stuff.
Okay, but I will say it was very when I was watching those episodes and I was seeing kind of how she was brought up, it was very reminiscent of the way that they set up primary school and Sunday school in the church. They have this rotation. So in church, there's the New Testament and the Old Testament, or the Old Testament, New Testament, whatever. The Book of Mormon, and then the Doctrine and Covenants.
Okay.
So, and then there's like these extra little, there's Mormoni. But like basically there's 4 sets of things and there's 4 sets of documents to study from. And so they have a 4-year rotation on the year that they spend studying blah 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 blah. But basically no matter how old you are, the same rotation is the same lessons over and over again. And it is by the time they're grown up, when you are teaching this over and over and over again, it's hammered into your head. So you have all of this very deep and like very specific knowledge about this one thing that you've just had hammered over and over again into your world. And then on the other side of it, you stay so uneducated about so many other things.
About it's so wild.
The world outside you is completely foreign.
Yeah. Specializing in stuff, like thinking about specialties. I worked for a law firm, and these attorneys were so fucking smart, like so intelligent about the law, could quote shit all over the place.
Mhm.
But like would call me to be like, help, I can't reset my password for this website. I don't know how to do bare bones basic tools like jobs with a computer, but let me crank out like a 40-page divorce decree. Like, okay.
No problem.
So it's just like when you get so specialized. Donald encountered it too when he was working with doctors. He'd get people like, why not print here? I want print here. But then they'd walk into like a fucking patient's room and just be a different person. So it's so interesting as depending on like what you're trained for, where those gaps land.
It took me a while to realize how marketable my skills actually were because I had gotten so specialized in such a niche field that I was like, who was ever going to know, like, who cares about, the science of collections care, like conservation technology, like nobody cares about that shit in real life. But like, it took me a while to realize that like all the skills that I had grown in order to get good at this thing, like could translate over into me being good at another thing.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Allowed me to get a grown-up job.
A grown-up job. All right.
A grown-up job.
Stop being distracted, Lauren.
God.
Get back on track.
God damn it. Okay.
Let's get
All
serious.
Right. Let's get serious here. Well, her mom didn't want her to have an education. She wanted her to focus on this being a mother and all of that crap. Mm-hmm. But her father didn't really press the matter. He was like, don't encourage the wrath of the wife. She don't want her to be things no more. I'm just assuming. I don't want to, I probably shouldn't besmirch the relationship of that couple, but whatever.
Definitely. You're going to get a phone call from their
I'm going to get a phone call from one of their descendants, like just centuries down the line.
And an attorney, like they're going to sue you for slander. You said my 74th great grandma beat my 74th great grandpa.
Oh, God. Well, so he didn't press the matter around the mom, but he did still encourage her to like read as much as she could. And so he would kind of work with her like in the library. And then she just kind of followed her father around. So she took everything in that he said. Guys. Boys.
Stop
it.
My sons.
They had my sons, my boys. They had a stern talking to last night because they were like getting frisky. And they're about the same size. And so it was absolutely hilarious for like 45 minutes to watch them trying to attack and hump each other.
They're really trying to work out their positions in the hole.
But like they couldn't quite figure it out. So it just looked like they were playing. And so they were like just kind of jumping around and like having fun. And we're like, oh, they're getting along. Oh no, they're trying to fuck each other. Oh no, they're trying to fuck each other. Oh God. Probably stop this. Oh God. So it took a little while, and then we tried to separate them, and then they came back in, and they had basically, it wasn't 2 seconds before they got back in it. And I mean, I put my foot down. I was like, hey, and I got him over, and I was, get over here. And I looked at them both, and I was like, do you know who's in charge in this house? And I held them, and I was like, I'm in charge in this house. Me. Me.
I tell Tanner I'm going to make him sleep on the balcony all the time. I'm like, listen, bitch, I will make you sleep outside. I never do. I just want to say on air, I've never done that to my dog. I never would. He sleeps in our bed.
We do not harm our children because they are
I
boys.
make at my son. He sleeps in my bed.
We would
sometimes to my own detriment. So
that's actually so. We finally got a bed for Pippin, and we have been sending both of them to sleep in their own beds. Mm-hmm. By the way, Chewy loves Pippin's bed. So Pippin's bed is obviously better. So at any given opportunity, we will just walk into a room, and he'll just be sitting there looking at us. Exactly.
Is Pippin okay with it?
Pippin doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's whatever, because it's super new. So he's just, that's how it's been forever. as long as he's had the thing.
Yeah.
This has always happened. This is my life.
Mhm.
But I think Chewie's having a hard time with some adjusts.
Yeah.
But they're good boys.
Pippin's like, I've had to be adaptable for the past couple of years. It's fine. Whatever.
It's fine. I'm a happy-go-lucky dog.
I just want to be kissed.
Gary gets so mad. He's like, it's impossible to stay mad at that dog.
Seriously.
He's like, I get frustrated, and then he does a thing that's real shitty, and then I can't stay mad at him.
He's forever babyface.
He is such baby face. Oh, and I've started seeing little white hairs coming out of his like back, you know, in his black fur, and like he's starting to be an old man. Oh man. Back to business. Come on.
Jeez Louise.
Jeez Louise.
Just
Anyway.
kidding. It'll be Valentine's Day before this episode is even done being recorded.
Okay, finally. So when she was 15 years old, she fell in love with another person in the courts, the royal secretary and notary, Etienne du Castel. Far from an unhappy child bride, Christine and Etienne loved each other very deeply and were incredibly devoted and kind to one another. Every source talks about how they were truly a love match, which is rare in any world. I think it was unheard of then, but Etienne was a rare, kind person.
But is there age difference like documented?
I think he was, I mean, I'm sure he was probably a few years older than she was. I would imagine early 20s,
Yeah.
but I don't
Oh, okay.
remember exactly how old.
I don't know. I just suddenly pictured like this like 40-year-old man. And I was like, oh, well, just because you said child bride. And so I went 40-year-old.
Well, and then, no, I think God. All right.
I mean, children
when
are
I'm
children.
Doing,
but
when I'm
like...
doing research for these episodes, I get super deep dive into all of this, and then I know way too much, and then I have to cut down on what I actually put in the episode and what I actually write down. So
okay.
So it still, even when I cut it down to whatever, it's still an unreasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
But when we're recording, I still have this like vast amount of knowledge so that I can actually answer questions like that. But that was like March that I researched.
Yeah,
this.
for sure.
So I don't remember, but I want to say he was probably in his 20s, and he was like, I kind of feel like he was kind of like a young person, like a young star for being as good as he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had 3 children together. So no, that's wrong.
I was like, interesting. The story started in the 1300s.
She was a cyborg and she lived forever.
This story spans 6 generations. Sit down, bitch. We're going to be here a while. I was like, oh my God, what has happened?
Wrong. In 1380, King Charles V died, and his son Charles VI was only 12 when he was thrust into the position of the ruler.
Ooh.
Which is just fan-fucking-tastic recipe for success. And
yeah, I mean, that's child labor.
stability.
The labor unions are going to be all over that.
Oh, yeah. And, the most stable households definitely have 12-year-olds running them. And the most stable
Leaders,
governments have 12-year-olds running.
Just look at ours. Hey.
Look at how successful America has been the last 4 years with a 12-year-old in office. Case in point.
So tell me about Charles VI. What's this
Right.
boy up to?
So he was advised by 2 of his uncles, but there was a big problem. The uncles actually hated. It was like kind of one of those comics. They hated each other. So they'd like give him So they give him conflicting pieces of advice. And even though it's not stated anywhere specifically in my research, I imagine that he'd been like harshly criticized by the uncle whose advice was ignored.
Yeah.
And I also imagine that it's not cartoons, but the hecklers from the Muppets.
Okay.
And one of them is the uncle over here, but blah, 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 blah. And the other uncle is over here, blah, 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 blah. And
I also pictured just like 2 devils, like not an angel and a devil, just like 2 devils being very annoying.
Yes,
or just,
exactly.
Actually, just 2 goblins. Like they're not actually.
Exactly. They're just kind of like bent over and
do this.
Be a dick to everyone. All right. And then I lost my place. So the pressure of ruling got to this guy's head. And so he would often have breakdowns. as one does when you're thrust in a position of great power at 12 years old.
Yeah.
Once he threatened to invade a different nation in retaliation to a failed assassination attempt of one of his friends.
Oh. So another nation tried to kill his friend.
No.
No.
Maybe? Yeah, so it was a failed assassination attempt. They tried to kill his friend.
And then he
I
tried
don't
to
remember
declare
why,
war on that
but
country.
he decided to try to declare war on the entire country
Jesus.
for a failed assassination attempt.
Yeah, that they weren't even successful.
I know. You tried to kill my friend. I'm coming after you.
And your country.
My name is
and
Inigo Montoya.
everyone.
You almost killed my father. Prepare to almost die.
Prepare for me to attack your country. Okay. I mean, the egos of men. So
Yeah, of
anyways.
course. Exactly. Period. End of story.
That I need not expound.
So sometimes he ran wildly through the corridors of his Parisian residence, the Hotel Saint Paul, I think.
I mean, that's his right. I do that.
Sure. And to keep him inside, the entrances were walled up. Eventually, his wife handled some of his affairs, while most of the decisions of state were made by the council.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. He thought he was made of glass, and at one point, he didn't bathe for 5 months.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, like, they weren't obviously at this point, nobody was bathing every day or every year.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, even every year.
Every
for 5
year?
months. Well, okay, you know what? Like, I don't remember where I learned this, so this was probably a load of bullshit. But I think there was somewhere that said that, like, some of the poorest people, like, from medieval times would have, like, 1 bath a year. Like, they could change their laundry or something. But that's probably a very big exaggeration. I was 11 when I heard this, so I'm going to believe anything.
Sure.
I've carried this fact with me throughout life, being like, I know this. Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough to argue with you, so I accept it as fact.
Sure. 11-year-old Lauren is going to stand unsupported in her claim, but we're not going to argue with it anyway.
Interesting. Hashtag Team Lauren, 11-year-old. Hashtag Team 11-year-old Lauren.
That doesn't sound good. I feel like that would cause problems immediately.
Yeah.
So
but I'm still on her team.
Yes. Man, she could have used some more people on her team. Have you ever thought about like how lonely you were as a kid?
Yes. I was an only child, so fucking absolutely.
Yeah. We were moving every like 2 or 3 years, and so it would take me so long to actually like make friends. I'd be like, okay, finally I found a friend or a group of friends that I'm like, oh, I'm comfortable with them and I love them.
Yeah. And then you'd move.
And then we moved.
Yeah.
Every time.
I lived in the same place my whole life, basically. But it was just me and my parents, which was fine.
Boys.
Oh shit.
Hey, knock it off.
Oh, I can see Chewy's little face.
His little face. He's a
little Chewy
boy.
face. Hi, Chewy.
His face. And can you see our functional fireplace that got worked on for 4 fucking hours today?
Jesus. Oh, look at your little baby tree.
We wanted to get a little live one, but by the time we got there, obviously they were all sold out. But
yeah,
this is one that my mom got me like forever ago. And
yeah, Kenzie found a cute little live one at Safeway. It's like 2 feet tall. And
yeah,
so
we tried to get one at Fred Meyer,
Meyer,
and it was just, they were all out. Everyone wants a little tree this year. Everyone wants 5 little trees this year. They're all going all out for Christmas, and they're like, we're gonna have
just a tree in every room.
Yeah. A tree in every room. Oh, you can, okay, I can imagine every, like, Karen in the fucking country. A tree in every room. We're going to fully decorate it. We're going to have a whole
be nice to me. Jesus Christ. I want a tree in every room. Legitimately, my dream house is, I want a room that has vaulted ceilings big enough for me to have a 10-foot tree. And then I want a dining room that's big enough for me to have like a 10-person table plus buffet.
We've talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, and I want, like, during Christmas, I want like 6 or 8 like super narrow trees with just lights on them. But I want like a very like
big,
beautiful hosting dining room.
Yes,
it's like my dream.
That's awesome.
So I need to be very rich. I am looking for a sugar daddy. Listeners,
taking
And-
applications.
Yeah, it's fine. My husband doesn't listen to this podcast, so
I won't do anything for you, but like, you
Yeah,
can pay
no.
me for zero reason.
Whatever, I'll send you a picture of my feet.
You know what? It's 2020. Fuck it.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Bring you food every now and then. I made turkey soup. Please give me allowance. So yeah, if that sounds like a arrangement for you, you go ahead and hit me up. Jesus Christ. This episode is going to be a mess.
We are just coming back, guys. Doesn't matter. By the time this comes out, it will be after Christmas, and that means that Gary will have already had his surprise. We are going to the coast to be in a cabin for like a couple nights on Christmas.
Okay, that's when this episode comes out, but what about
I'm going to
he's the
be
one that-
editing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, Lauren.
I know that he wants to, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah. At least this one because of that, or just in general?
At least this one. I don't know if it's going to be everyone, but like I want to make sure that like the flow can go a certain way,
Yeah,
and you can't do that when other people are editing for you.
yeah, for sure.
Anyway. All right, back to business. Goodness gracious. Her father died. And it was a real bummer. Her father died in 1388. And as a double whammy, her husband died the next year.
Oh, no.
Like the man she really loved.
Yeah, and she had
And-
3 kids.
It was
With him.
possibly the bubonic plague.
Mhm.
That was the big plague at the time. Like that was the fashion of 1388 was the bubonic plague.
I know nothing
1389.
about plagues.
Well, there's a plague going on this year. And,
Never heard of
it.
Yeah, that sucks. That's really terrible. The husband
I
and
got
then,
a compliment on my mask today. I had a homemade mask on and I had to be on my 11 o'clock call and I had to do Zoom, like a video call.
So her husband, I'm sorry, died in the same year?
Yes, the next year.
The next year. Okay, well, still.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, it's like fucking
great.
kicking the nuts while you're already down.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was devastated. And at that point in the 14th century, women were entirely dependent on their husbands as their means of income. And now Christine had no husband and no father and still had to take care of her family and her mother, who now lived with them.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So it took almost 2 decades for her to be fully able to collect her estate, having been put off in the courts over and over, mislabeled as the widow of Etienne du Castel, and generally ignored.
Mhm.
What was worse, when Thomas had died the year before, it effectively ended their connection with the royal courts. Basically, he had been the big tie-in, and there was just was that little scissor string, like you can snip it.
Well, and this is back in the times when people were like, okay, the man died. Well, you don't exist anymore.
Nope, the family does not matter.
Jesus.
Yeah. The rest of the you humans in here, well,
Well, he's not on our court anymore. See ya.
hi,
That's crazy.
figure it out.
You figure it out.
You figured it out. In order to work through her emotions, Christine turned to writing. She wrote love ballads, mourning beautifully the loss of her dear Etienne. The writings went the 14th century version of like viral, passing from woman to woman in the French courts. Eventually, people started commissioning writings and paying her.
Cute.
Yeah. She had admired the way in which Queen Isabeau had taken her husband's stresses in stride. Queen Isabeau is the crazy king's wife.
Oh, okay.
She's like, I got this.
Fine.
I can be fake king, queen, something, whatever. Christine had admired the way in which Queen Isabeau had taken her husband's stresses in stride and ruled with patience and wisdom. It inspired her to think more on the numerous virtues of women, and so she wrote them down and published them in a series of works extolling the virtues of women and celebrating the past, some wise women like Blanche of Castile, who had acted as regent and brought stability in the royal courts of France. They were dedicated to Queen Isabel.
Oh, I love that.
De Pizan was well read, so she felt confident in her claim that women were harshly depicted in literature. Why? Why? I've never heard of that. In 1399, she wrote a book called Epistre. Ooh, I'm not gonna. It's the Epistle of the God of Love.
Okay.
She commented on the role of women in society or the specific lack thereof without a husband. She also used it to bring to the forefront of everyone's mind that women maybe did not match their literary critiques.
Yeah.
Christine had a penchant for metaphor, and in 1400 she wrote and published a book called Letter of Othea to Hector. Hector of Troy in this epistle is taught matters of statecraft and moral politics by the goddess of wisdom. She originally dedicated it to King Charles VI's brother Louis, who was being considered at the time a potential regent for France.
Oh, okay.
It was obvious that the hope was Hector would serve as a reminder for Louis to keep order, decency, and morality as the foundations upon which he would serve. So up until recently, or up until at this point recently, though bound books were called codexes. Basically, they there were scrolls and then there were books, and they had been created at this point, but they hadn't gained much traction because of the work that had to actually be put into crafting each and every one.
Sure.
Right.
No
So
printing
most-
press and stuff.
Yeah, so most family libraries still contained many scrolls, but the turn of the 15th century that changed. Materials for books became cheaper, and more noble families started asking for books to be made. Writers would work with the bookmakers to produce them, and as they became more popular, Christine was able to publish the letter and dedicate it to other people.
That's cool.
And she wasn't taking sides either. She produced works for the members of different French noble families. So there wasn't, one set of families that she favored over another. She was just like, cool, all women, all
Yeah.
people that want my work, everyone
Yes,
who wants
I will write it for you. Sure.
Yes, please. I will work for you. Please pay me.
Pay me money.
Pay me money and I give you things.
Give me money.
Oh my God. That's us to the government right now.
Seriously.
Give me money, bitch.
Give us money.
So, one of the books, Romance of the Rose. It was a labor of love, so to speak. It had taken 2 writers to finish it and is considered today one of the most popular literary pieces of the 14th and 15th century. She did not write this piece. This was not.
Okay.
This was a different set of 2 writers.
Oh, okay.
The piece is ultimately a satire on courtly love and the dramas and efforts of women as seductresses and nothing more. In 1402, Christine was not going to take it. No, we're not going to take it. We're not going to take it anymore.
That's exactly what happened. That is canon in my brain.
So she decided she wasn't going to take it, and she wrote a book called The Tales of the Rose in Defense of Women.
Mm-hmm.
She was highly regarded in French courts by that time, so people respected her opinions, and this was a fairly big to-do. Her book got the second author's attention, a man by the name of Jean de Meun, I'm going to call him. He wrote publicly in defense of, I know, it's horrible. Please don't make fun of my French accent. I know it's so bad. I took a year of it in high school and it did nothing.
I can't make
for
fun
me.
of anyone's accent. I can't do accents. Like I'll watch videos of people that are like linguists and stuff,
Mhm.
describing difference of this is how this region pronounces A's. It's like and I'm like, what are you saying? It just sounds like a different language to me. So
Yeah, like everything is. Oof, this is different.
what's different?
No, like every accent, you kind of have to
Right.
learn. It's like learning a whole new language, especially and when it's a little minor, then it's not a big deal. But when it's a big, when it's, God, I had a really hard time understanding. When I was in New Orleans, there was a lot of people that I had a hard time understanding. It took me a minute. Once I got it, I got it.
Yeah.
It took a minute to like adjust.
Yeah, Donald and I have been watching a lot of Big Fat Quiz Show, and
Okay.
so there's it's British folks for the most part, but then on there's also a couple of British rappers, like specifically grime rappers, and like I have had to specifically listen and notice little like. This is, I guess, where I'm like, oh, I kind of understand what linguists are talking about, because he'll say like he'll drop certain letters within words, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's just how he talks, and now I know what he's saying. But the people that can replicate it are the ones that blow my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't understand how people do that. Watching The Crown again, Helena Bonham Carter is playing Princess Margaret, and so she speaks in a British accent, and then she was like mocking her husband and drops right into this like super American accent and goes right back to British. And I was like, I mean, they probably did it maybe in a couple of takes, or maybe not, who knows, but like, it's still just, it's so cool. I don't know how people do that.
Well, and she's just freakishly talented anyway.
Yes,
like,
she's a very talented person.
She's an incredibly talented actress.
Have
you met Margaret Thatcher yet?
No.
Okay.
I really, really did like Vanessa Kirby too, like the younger Margaret as well.
Oh yeah.
Both of them are very enjoyable to watch.
And Claire Foy she had the stoicism down pat.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
They've done good with casting.
Yeah, they have.
All right.
So Jean de Meun, he was kind of this asshat that was the second author. He wrote publicly in defense of the points of view, and they ended up engaging in an entirely public 15th century version of a Twitter war, where someone would write in defense of the piece and Christine would logic it down. She was ultimately the like winner of the feud. Like, obviously everyone knew that she had just kind of smacked down.
Were they like trading these? It was just like in print?
Exactly, they were coming out in papers.
In papers, okay.
Yeah, and so people that
this long drawn out argument in newspapers.
Yeah, and then they like publish it, and so other people would read it, and it was.
That's so cool. All right.
Which I kind of think of Hamilton, where it's like your obedient servant.
Yeah.
Here's an itemized list of 45 years of disagreements.
Yeah, well, and the one that I. The Hamilton line that I called up was, we smack each other in the press and we don't print retractions. Exactly. Yep. I was like, all right, so they're doing this like press war basically.
Yes, exactly. So it inspired the hell out of her. So she won in the best way. She used antiphrasis. I don't know how to pronounce that, so please. Antiphrasis, to concede. Well, so it's like the part of sarcasm considered the most bitter or harsh, where one person says the words or phrase opposite to the message they're trying to convey. When doing so, the intended is presented as the intended meaning is presented in an obvious fashion.
Okay.
Why would I ever take the trash out? Why would that be a good idea? How silly of me. That's it.
Oh! I did not. I was like, what are you talking about?
No, I just the part of sarcasm, like where you do that. Anyway.
No, I definitely understand now. But I just was like, is this?
No.
What's happening?
So in 1403, she wrote the book of The Path of Long Study. In this piece, she presents a dream allegory within a dream allegory, and it's called The Book of the Path of Long Study. So Christine, and her female companion Sybil are going along like in this journey. So the first allegory is not unlike the more widely known literary epic of like Dante's Divine Comedy.
Okay.
She replaces the figures of Dante and Virgil with herself and Sybil. In the second one, Christine is shown a vision of entities like Earth and Lady Reason. Lady Reason's not really a new character. She pulled it from the Romance of the Rose. The one that she was battling against.
Yeah.
Rap battle. I swear to God, it would be the best rap battle ever. Anyway.
Turn it into a cabinet battle. A cabinet meeting.
Exactly. A cabinet meeting. Like, you're invited to a newspaper debate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but Lauren and I have been watching a lot of Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on. What's this you speak of? Only the thing that I... Oh my goodness. Okay, so there's noise canceling headphones, and they have really good sound. And also, I live right by a fucking freeway, which means that if I get out on my balcony and I close the door and I cannot hear myself sing, I can belt out to the freeway and nobody can hear me. And it is the best noise deadening shit ever. But I had so much fun. I sang Satisfied at a ridiculously loud volume and no one could hear me. And I hit everything. It was awesome.
So I have a very different story with a very different ending. I sing at top volume, specifically in my car, because I'm very alone. I sing specifically very loudly in my car because I'm alone, and I was coming home and Burn started, and as I like pulled into the garage, and I was like, oh well, now I have to sit here, and I just like sat in
and you have to sit there and you have to sing it,
and I fucking belted it, and I got out of my car, and then like somebody was like cleaning out their car across the garage and just like
had heard the whole thing.
Yeah, and I was like, I was screaming in my car about a man who betrayed me.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Like, he didn't say anything to me or anything, but I was like, there's no fucking way he did not hear me. Like, no. There's no way. I was absolutely yelling. What a mess.
Oh god.
Also, when you started this segment about her and Sybil, I was like, ooh, close friend, you say.
Close friend, you say.
This is the lesbians of the olden days. But I forgot she had a husband.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? You can be two things. You could be many things.
That's canon now. Christine and Sybil are in a relationship.
Yep. For sure. Absolutely.
Write it down, guys. It will be on the quiz
that we have at the end of the year. Other allegorical characters are asked for advice, and the ideal qualities of a person who could function as a world emperor are discussed. So it's like a round table for moral philosophy. So the group decides that such an emperor must be the chosen at the French court, and Christine is appointed as the messenger who should deliver their conclusions to France. Then the dream is over, and the peace. So 4 of these pieces survive to this day. Each one of them is handwritten and illustrated by Christine, as the printing press wouldn't be invented for another 30 some odd years. Each copy has different illustrations and stresses different points in the book. So like there's different sections that are highlighted and chosen to be illustrated.
Yeah, interesting.
Have you ever seen an illuminated manuscript?
No.
They're fucking gorgeous. Like,
I'm throwing away more. I spoke up and thank you.
thank you.
Love you.
I love you. My very hot boyfriend is loving on me too much.
I have a complaint.
Speak to the boyfriend manager.
I mean, I get it. I've been there too. Yeah, he's bored.
I know.
I'm not saying that's like.
I know.
As the person in the relationship who does not work with the person who does work and is very busy, I can sympathize a little bit, because Donald will come out of his office to go pee, and I'm like, hi, do you want to have a conversation? Sit down.
Yes, that's exactly it, except that there's no door. He's just sitting on the couch like 5 feet away from me at all times.
Yeah.
And just constantly like, you want to see this thing?
I mean, that is why Donald closes his door, because if it's open, I'm like, hi. I'm bored, so I've come over here to tell you about a completely inane subject so that I can have a few moments of interaction today.
Yes.
It was either this or I had to go to Starbucks. So,
So here we are.
so yeah, I get it. But I also totally get the other side of it.
Yes. Like, I love him so much, but stop. Just stop. Please, just be quiet for a little while. Not forever, just for a little while.
It's not forever.
You don't, I mean, we have been on the phone fucking forever. Okay, we cannot get through this fucking episode. Anyway, four of those like illuminated manuscripts that she made for these different people survived. And each one of them was like handwritten by her and illustrated by Christine. Because the printing press wouldn't be invented for another 30 years.
Jesus.
Yeah. So each copy has different illustrated versions to stress different points in the book. And each edition she published was dedicated to a different 15th century French patron.
Okay.
Christine had grown up under the rule of Charles V. And so when his old friend, Philip the Bold, wanted a volume chronicling his life, Christine was the best choice for the piece. Mm-hmm. And then he died before she finished it. As you do. So she offered the work to someone else named John the Fearless, for whom she would continue to write until 1412.
Wow.
She's like, all right, well, I've been working really hard. Do you want to get this book anyway?
Do you want it instead?
Do you want it instead? You don't want to buy a book?
Hey, kid, do you want to buy? She has a trench coat. Like,
The memoir extolled the wisdom of Charles V. Much of their law at the time was written in Latin, and Charles had taken time to learn Latin so that he could understand more clearly the law with which he should rule. She also harshly criticized the more contemporary leadership and their need for translators so that they can understand their own laws, which makes sense to me, because if you don't understand something, learn it so that you can understand it. Exactly. And how can you fight it? How can you make it better if you don't understand what you're looking at?
Yeah.
And at the time, Latin was not a dead language, so it seems like that wouldn't really be a hard thing to accomplish, considering they were royals in the French court.
Yes.
Access.
Access. You have it.
Access. You have it. Access, granddad.
Access, granddad.
Around the same time, her femme front page feud had fueled her fire.
Ooh, I love that alliteration. Amazing.
And she published in 1405 a book called The Book of the City of Ladies. It was one of 3 total texts, although only 2 of the volumes exist today. The second was called The Treasure of the City of Ladies. In the Book of the City of Ladies, Christine created a symbolic city in which women are appreciated and defended. She constructed 3 allegorical figures: reason, justice, and rectitude, in the common pattern of literature in that era, when many books and poetry were utilized stock allegorical figures to express ideas or emotions.
Okay.
He enters into this type of dialogue, a movement between question and answer, with these allegorical figures from a completely female perspective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So together they create a forum to speak on issues of consequence to all women. Only the female voices, examples, and opinions provide evidence within this text. Though through Lady Reason in particular, Christine argues the stereotypes of women can be sustained only if women are prevented from entering into the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yes,
as long as you don't allow us to be part of this conversation and speak for ourselves, you're going to be able to, you're going to have this false sense of us forever. Yeah, forever. So it was this revolutionary perspective into female representation in the 15th century media. Why exactly had women been consistently described as the root of all seductive evil? Men and women were both created in God's image and have souls capable of receiving God's goodness. The second book focuses more on the allegorical figures and addressed the community of women with the stated objective of instructing them in the means of achieving virtue. She took the position that all women were capable of humility, diligence, and moral rectitude, and that duly educated all women could become worthy residents of the imaginary city of ladies. Join today, only $59.95 per month.
You can join our city of ladies. I'm so sorry. We're just gonna have
And
to
there you have the
cut this
prancing.
segment out.
There you have the prancing field, and you get to hop around in your pink flowy dresses,
Your ladies' garments.
and no
I don't
one
know.
will ever touch you. No one will
Ooh.
ever touch you.
Amazing.
It would be wonderful. Drawing
Want
on
to
her
lay
own
in the
life,
prancing field.
right? Safely in a prancing field. Safe. Imagine.
Imagine.
Drawing on her own life, Christine advised women on how to navigate the perils of early 15th century French society. With reference to Augustine of Hippo and other saints, Christine offered advice on how the noble lady could achieve the love of God. Christine speaks through the allegorical figures of God's daughters, reason, rectitude, and justice, who represent the three virtues most important to women's success. Through secular examples of these three virtues, Christine urged women to discover meaning and achieve worthy acts in their lives. Christine argued that women's success depends on their ability to manage and mediate by speaking and writing effectively.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
In the 15th century, writers could only hope to gain so much notoriety, and the fact that Christine became an internationally renowned writer, and a female one at that, pretty much put her at the A-list of medieval French celebs. She was like a red carpet French celeb.
A-lister.
A-lister. She was the Kanye and Kardashian
Of medieval France.
Amazing.
She was both of them also, by the way, you said. She
Yeah.
was Kanye and
So we talked before about bookbinding and how that had just kind of become a trade talent with
Right.
which one could make money by working, but you work with a writer and you have to gain a patronage. So like the writer and the bookbinder work together, and then you have to go and find people to like buy my book,
buy our book.
buy the book, please. So
We both
Christine,
did the work.
we did works. Look at our pretty thing. So Christine had a bookbinder, and as we know from many of her manuscripts, she was a big fan of illustrating her own work. It seems appropriate then that she found a lady. Oh, never mind. I don't think she illustrated her own work. I think I said illustrating her work, and then she found a lady known as Anastasia, and she is the one that is the manuscript illustrator.
Oh,
Like
okay.
she's only known as that person, as Anastasia, and she was the one that
illustrated for her.
yes, did all the pretties.
So cool.
So again, this was still when you had to hand write every single page of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine making like the teeniest of typos, but at the last line. But it's something really bad, so you have to go and write the entire fucking page over again.
Yeah. At least it's just the page.
Yeah. Da 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 da.
God damn it. I wonder how big the writing was, because like it was like quill writing, right? So,
Yeah. So, and you
Wonder-
can look up like illuminated manuscripts now, and they kind of have like a fairly uniform text, and sometimes you can see like the markings where they lined it out so they could measure their lines.
Yeah.
Um,
That's so cool.
yeah, it's really neat. Hard to read.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
All right. Da-da-da-da.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Elsewhere in the nation, France and England are in the middle of a 100 Years' War, which, as a Reader's Digest version, is explained thusly. England's royal family had long been descended from a French heritage. In efforts to lessen English land holdings, and therefore power in France, lands were slowly taken away and relations strained over generations. It was a common pattern for French royalty and English royalty to marry. I can't do this voice anymore.
That's fine.
It was a common pattern for French royalty and English royalty to marry, allying the nations. In 1328, Charles IV of France died without a male successor, and because of reasons, women weren't qualified to succeed in line.
Yeah.
So the next lawful person in line was Charles's nephew, Edward of England. The French didn't want an English on their throne, so they rejected the claim of the prince. And the English were like, cool, we get it.
All right.
All right, whatever.
That is not that is not what I expected you to say.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I was expecting a lot more boom for that, but whatever.
Yeah.
France's new ruler was the cousin of Charles, Philip, Count of Valois. Disagreements caused Philip to take some of Edward's land in France, and then all hell broke loose. Edward decided that was not cool, and he decided to reclaim his throne, and Philip thought that that was a bit of an overreaction, so it was kind of the start of the big pissy contest.
And no, I'm king.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm coming back. I'm going to be king now.
I want to be king.
Don't get crazy. Let's be reasonable.
No.
Let's be reasonable.
Be reasonable.
So then followed a fucking century of captures, battles, land gains, losses, treaties, and betrayals, and a lot of death. Charles VI, who was one of the emotional issues with the wife who basically ruled for him, he had a shit ton of kids. A lot of them died. And then there was Charles. But in 1420...
Another Charles?
Yep. Then there was another
seventh?
Charles. Yep.
Okay.
So, but in 1420, the crazy sixth one disinherited the seventh one, and because 789.
That's not true, though, right? That
No.
sentence is not true. Okay. I was at first because I was following your sentence.
My
At first, I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's so now he's
Cannibalism.
disrupted the line again." He's disrupted the line again. No, not that. No, I knew that part was the joke, but did he really disinherit him?
He did, yeah.
Oh, okay, that part's true.
The
All
sixth disinherited the seventh and basically willed the kingdom to the English king on his
The
deathbed.
sixth was the crazy one, though, right?
Sixth was the crazy one, and he was like, "Fuck off, son! I'm gonna
I'm
give
giving
this
the world to England.
to the English king."
England. All right,
and now I'm dying."
great. How'd that go over?
It was a shit show. It was a fucking shit show. So when sixth died, seventh claimed the throne despite his disinheritance because it was basically madness that his crazy father would effectively dissolve the entire nation of France on his own death.
Yeah.
The French took up the cause and supported his claim, and the last few years of the war reigned before he was able to rule the country in peace. So around the turn of the century, the war had affected the infrastructure of each nation themselves. As France broke out into civil war, there were plenty of discussions to be had about the affairs of behavior during warfare. Nobody can take credit for the appointment of said book, but in 1410, Christine published the book of The Feats of Arms and Chivalry, which is a treatise on warfare and chivalry.
Okay.
In it, she examined past military leaders and their strengths and weaknesses, contemporary issues past leaders hadn't had to deal with, and what should be done, payment of troops, and proper execution of justice under God's purview.
Wow.
We're just going to tell you how to solve these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A woman published it.
Mm-hmm. A woman
This is how
published
you
it.
deal with it.
This is how you do
Guys.
war in a smart way.
You're acting dumb.
Yep. War was not exactly something she condoned, and she wanted to give the young Dauphin, prince-type ruler, future whatever of France, every opportunity to rule peacefully in the midst of the political turmoil of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So she published the next year a book called The Book of Peace for the Young Ruler. In its pages contain guidance for wise leadership and the importance of communication and patience in a ruler. Communication and patience.
Not here. That's not what we want.
Nope. So she drew a utopian version of a just ruler who could take advice from those those older and wiser. What a world that would be.
What a world indeed.
So an unattainable world in which people listen to those around them with more experience. Yeah, sounds great.
I love that. Unattainable. Is that your quote, or are you quoting that from somewhere?
No, that's me. That's me.
An unattainable world for people. It sounded so scathing. I was like, is that from your mouth, or are you quoting?
Yes.
Truly. All right.
During this entire time, she observed closely the leadership of Queen Isabeau, who had long since taken the reins on her husband's rule of France. She was a patient and kind woman, and Christine admired her greatly, though enough that in 1414 she presented the queen with her collected works, 30 of Christine's works and another 130 miniatures, which I'm guessing are like little poems of some sort.
Yeah.
This came along with the lavish and extensive illustrations, one of which was an illustrated depiction of the very gift itself. And Christine, in the illustration, is presenting Isabeau with the book.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the headdresses of the time, oh my God. So I'm really glad that we don't have to keep our hair in elaborate hardware anymore, because I saw this and it's like huge. They're so big, these headpieces.
Oh.
Oh my God. No, these hats that they had to wear.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
I want to do like I do want to do like a fancy tea party hat type thing at some point.
That is reasonable. That's like a cute little thing that you put at the top of your head.
Yeah, a fascinator. I'll totally
this is
wear
like
a fascinator.
Box on top of your head.
Yeah.
That fits around the top of it and just kind of wiggles on top.
Yeah.
And all of your hair gets tucked up inside of it.
No, thank you.
Yeah. So Christine would continue to be one of France's best writers of the time. While her views on humanism and moral philosophy were hardly new to the people of the time, her views on women as equals and deserving of moral positive coverage in history was a hugely revolutionary view and would continue to single her out for defense of women. She might be the first female writer ever to do that.
Yeah.
And through it all, she still wrote of her lost love.
Oh, Etienne.
Etienne.
My dear.
My dear. In 1417, she wrote the letter concerning the prison of human life to a woman named Marie Berry. Her husband was imprisoned by the English. It was meant to be a consolation to the women who, like her, had lost their loves and were suffering. It didn't read quite as such. The whole thing basically said, the whole letter basically said that there was no relief to be had on earth and that their souls were trapped in their bodies but imprisoned in hell.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks for the positive outlook.
All right, and better, it was so well received that the next year she published it for even more people to read.
Oh.
Super fun. Fantastic.
Sounds so sad.
Things took a turn when English occupation started. In an effort to stay safe, Christine went to live with her daughter in the Dominican convent of De Poissy.
Oh, okay.
Because that was out in the middle of the non-royal courts, France 33749, the clients she had kind of dried up. She just didn't get work anymore, which was fine. I think by that time the monastery was like taking care of her.
Yeah.
And then a light shone in Christine's mind one more time, and it took the form of Joan of Arc. We're going to do an episode on her. I promise I'll go much further into
this person.
I don't know enough about her, and so we're totally going to do an episode on her, but later time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But basically, I guess she was this peasant from nowhere who became a female hero during the late stages of war. So Christine admired her integrity and bravery in the course of her victory over England. She chronicled the story in The Tale of Joan of Arc, and it was published soon after the new king had been officially crowned, Charles VII. Mm-hmm. He was the son of the crazy, the nice king.
Yeah, sorry, I made a face because I just clicked on Joan of Arc. I did not know she was 19 when she died. I did not know quite how young she was. I knew she was young. I did not know.
See, this is why we needed an episode on her, because I know very little about it. Joan was the woman who made prophecies fulfilled and believed that Charlemagne predicted Charles the Seventh Fool. Christine died in 1430.
Yeah.
Before Joan was even able to go to the trial.
Yeah.
The Book of the City of Ladies was one of the very few books that was printed in the early 16th century, and it was translated to English. Her works influenced the way other writers of the time wrote about women, and the Treasure of the City of Ladies was kind of an unofficial required reading for royals.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Hers became the definitive study material and chivalric code, which for most of its lifespan was not a written code, but a flexible verbal one, which was ultimately why it failed.
Right.
In 1521, 2 English editions of her book were printed, and neither credited Christine as the author.
What the fuck?
Yep. In the
Why?
19th century, nope. Why do you think?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. In the 19th century, Raymond Thomasy published a collection of her political writings and discussed the passing into obscurity of Christine's clout as a political theorist.
Mhm.
But then, in the late 20th century, women, Suzanne Salente, Matilda Legel, Marie Joseph Pinet, revived the work of de Pizan. She had been forgotten in France, but remembered elsewhere as inspiration.
Oh.
Legel noticed that de Pizan's work had not been translated to Spanish, but Spanish writers had borrowed extensively from her work.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't just Spanish, it was tons of places.
Yeah.
Her work was the patient zero for a lot of writings over the next 100 years, but it wouldn't get fully credited for her ideas until within the last 70 years.
Jesus.
But it inspired millions of pieces, either directly or indirectly, because inspiration begets inspiration. Everyone pulls from something else.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of years passed before anybody knew. Well, at least anybody here, because it was so.
Because she was quite famous in that time. Like people knew that it was her, but as soon as she died, she passed into obscurity, and like pretty much nobody wrote down, "Oh yeah, she's this cool."
Yeah. Well, and then when people did take her works and translate them, her name wasn't attached to it.
Exactly.
And so it's like
it was very easy to pull it away and be like, "Oh, we don't need to put that there. Just title pages, gonna leave here, whatever."
We don't need to leave this person's name on it because we're putting it in English. Nobody's gonna come back and look for this French version.
Obviously not.
It's fine. That's Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's Christine.
Christine de Pizan.
So fresh and so Christine.
Welcome back to Well Behaved Women, guys. That was our episode.
This is a mess. All right. Well, hey, good to know that we're back as always with the mess. Every time.
Maybe we'll be better put together next time. Your guess is as good as ours. Oh my gosh.
Oh God. All right. We're very happy to be back. And these are just going to come as we have the emotional energy to bring them. They will be presented to you as we have the energy to do them. Do not expect anything of us, please.
Yes. We haven't settled on a routine yet for doing this. Just give us some time, but you have us on social media, I assume, if you're listening to this podcast. So you will see when new episodes come out. And also, I think that we speak to everyone who listens to our podcast in person. So we'll just communicate with you.
Everyone that actually listens knows it's coming out.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening. Happy end of 2020.
And shout out to Josh and Jeanette, who I just talked to about this today. Those are our friends from the roof. We hang out with them and have beers.
Oh, shout out Josh and Jeanette.
Yep. Super
Hopefully
fun.
You listen to our show.
Anyway, have a good night.
All right. Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
See you next time.